From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2087, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Friday, November 1st, 2017. We begin this week's newscast with yet another hurricane report. This historic weather didn't hit the Caribbean, but landed instead in Ireland, where ham radio response was informal but effective.
The names Ophelia and Brian won't be forgotten for quite some time in Ireland. The two storms swept over the nation in mid-October, with Brian coming on the heels of its deadlier counterpart. Ophelia's arrival generated Ireland's first severe weather alert in history, and according to the Irish Independent newspaper, even created the biggest wave recorded off the Irish coast during a weather event. It also left 3 dead. Although the Amateur Radio Emergency Network was not formally called up for the storm, members nonetheless took to internet chat and whatever repeaters they could find, or made use of simplex calling channels to check on the well-being of people in their communities and beyond. John Ronan, EI7IG, told Newsline the hams had earlier tracked the storm and advised RN members to prep for water shortages, outages, and to get their go kits ready just in case. He told Newsline in an email that once the storm subsided, the hams were able to power up their generators and make use of batteries on hand to conduct health and welfare checks. He said some WindLink messages were also exchanged with RayNet members in the UK. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Ed Durant, DD5LP.
The Atlantic hurricane season continues through the end of November. The launch of a new satellite is almost here.
They're counting down the weeks at AMSAT until the next Fox 1 satellite goes up. It's called RAD-FX-SAT, and its date with Earth's orbit is the 10th of November. When it takes off from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, the satellite will be carrying a 435 and 145 megahertz FM transponder, one of 4 CubeSats riding as secondary payloads on board the Joint Polar Satellite System. The satellite features a Fox 1-style FM UHF VHF repeater with an uplink on 435.250 MHz and a CTC SS of 67 Hz. The downlink is on 145.960. The DUV subaudible telemetry stream will be used for downlinking satellite telemetry as well as telemetry from the study on radiation effects on commercial components. Fox Telem software can be used for decoding. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jerry Goodrich, KF5KRN.
In Australia, one amateur got a bit of a surprise when he caught up with a live ham TV transmission from the International Space Station.
Now here's a QSO to remember. Picture Tony Hutchison, VK5ZAI, an Australian ground station for the Ham TV amateur television project, in communication with Italian astronaut Paolo Nespoli, IZ0JPA. The contact was made in mid-October in the first live Ham TV transmission to be received in Australia from the International Space Station. It's not so hard to picture, actually, even though Tony himself didn't expect any images to come through. He told the Wireless Institute of Australia that the video transmission was a total surprise as the ISS made its low elevation pass over Australia. He thought at most he'd get a black screen, but there was Paolo rehearsing for an interview he was to have later with the Italian Red Cross. Tony immediately grabbed some still imagery from the screen and also made a video recording. The recordings have since been sent to other Ham TV equipped ground stations in Australia as well as Europe. That's sure one fancy QSL card. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm John Williams, VK4JJW.
For the rest of this week's Amateur Radio News, please listen to the full Amateur Radio Newsline report online on a repeater near you or on shortwave radio station WTWW at 9930 and 5085 kilohertz. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at www.arnewsline.org. With Ed Durant, DD5LP, Jerry Goodrich, KF5KRN, John Williams, VK4JJW, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wellbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.